Hi, this is Bill Crane. I'm the Executive Director of Montana Shares. This is orientation video number 2. The goal of this video is to give you more detail as a member representative, as a member group of Montana Shares. What are the responsibilities of being a member and what do we do for our members? We'll go into the orientation PDF, which is a large portfolio of all kinds of our documents that's accessible from our members' website. If you haven't watched orientation video number 1, you'll probably want to go back and do that. The goal for this video is to be approximately 10 minutes or so it's easily digestible. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, let's start with what do we do for you? What do we do for our member groups as Montana Shares? The Statewide Workplace Report is another document that's in the Montana Shares orientation PDF. And what we want to look at is what do we do for you? This first document is we submit all of our member groups as a federation into the State Employees Charitable Giving Campaign, SECGC. We also submit all of our groups to the CFC. The CFC is the Combined Federal Campaigns. And then as you move through this document, you can see that we also submit to various places in Billings, Bozeman. We'll move forward to the next page, Butte and Boulder. The Flathead, we put people into what's called the Combined Northwest Montana Campaign, which is in conjunction with United Way. And then we have our Great Falls places. We have a very large selection of workplaces here in Helena. And lastly, Missoula, and then others. So the next thing that we want to look at are sort of what are the responsibilities that you have as a member group to help Montana Shares out. And the first thing that we're going to go into is the committees. We mentioned these just briefly in the, zoom in on this. Okay, the first thing we want to talk about that members can be involved in is our standing committees. This is not a requirement for membership, but it helps us out a lot when we need help on any of these areas. So Development Committee helps out on grants, it's on call. The Finance and Audit Committee meets regularly. It looks over the health and financial structure of Montana Shares. Media PR, as is called for. Membership, its goal is to get feedback from the annual meetings and try to make Montana Shares the best group it can be for our members. Like I say, this is not a requirement, however, it is available for points. Points are sort of the currency, we'll cover those shortly. Points are the currency of Montana Shares that get you access to the undesignated funds that come in. And so if you're interested in being on a committee, even as a new member, please tell us so we can get you signed up on a committee and voted in on that. We're going to look at the next document, which is the annual grant report. This is one of the few things that's a hard requirement of being a member in Shares. You do have to turn in your annual grant report. It's due January 15th. It's required that you turn it in by that date, and if you do not turn it in by that date, there are financial penalties of $100 per week that get deducted from your next distribution check if you don't turn this in. Of all the requirements we have, it's probably the only one that's a hard and fast requirement. In the past, we just sent out a blank document, and when you were required to fill it out from scratch, we've kind of changed our philosophy. What we're doing now is we're sending out what we have on file, and we're asking if anything has changed. I'm going to zoom in a couple of steps here. Sample obviously wouldn't be on this. We've got the member group, the level, which is an old thing. We have just standard members now. Name filling out, the person filling out the form, their phone number, their email. And then we basically just say, this is what we have on file. Has that changed? This is the address we have on file. Has that changed? Is the representative changed? And then we just work through the document with what we have on file, what's changed, fill it out. It takes at most about an hour to do this, hour and a half. Attach it to an email, send it back in, and you're done with the annual grant report. The other big area on this is 25 words. If you feel like your work has changed or you have a better 25-word description, you can make that change here. It's very important because 25 words is what goes on the member brochure. It goes into the State Employees Charitable Giving Campaign, goes into the combined federal campaigns, and so you sort of live and die by 25 words. If you are in the CFCs, the combined federal campaigns, the 200-word description is very important. Make changes to it. Normally, the biggest area is sort of the last part of it where we talk about in such and such a year, we served X number of people in so many counties or whatever the case is. They need that data to be the last year's data. And so that is one thing on the annual grant report that you're pretty much guaranteed to have to update. The rest of the stuff, if your impact statement, your compelling stories have stayed the same, you can just leave those alone. We try to make this as simple as possible. We usually have 2 to 3 call sessions at the end of the year to help people with this. We tell you what we have on file for the basically required documents. Just scroll down here, you can see we'll tell you what we have on file for your latest audit, your latest 990. If you don't have an audit, then don't worry about it. But if it's old and you have a newer one, send that in anytime during the year or use the AGR as a trigger to send it in. Basically, same deal with your 990. We show you what we have on file. If you have a newer one, send it in then or send it in whenever it's done. That's about all there is to it. Then there's a few other attached documents that you need to send in. Send in your final points report, send in your financial practices checklist, sign in a new grant agreement for the new year, and send in a combined federal campaign application if you are in the CFCs. Not all members are eligible for the CFCs, but we make sure you know that. So that's the annual grant report. It is not that hard a task. It takes about an hour, hour and a half, and we do have help sessions to work people through that. And the people that avail themselves of those help sessions love them. This is the next document. It has Montana Shares logo usage. Like I say, we request that you put it on all of your brochures, all your websites. If you have events, just someplace on there, some small little proud member of Montana Shares type of thing. There's on the members website, there's various versions of it you can download. It has a specific color currently. We may look at changing this. And here's an example of it. If your logo is in this area here, this size, then Montana Shares logo on your brochure or your newsletter should be quite small in comparison. We've had it in the past where our logo is the same size as the members' logo, and people might wonder who they're getting a brochure from. So always try to proportionally make this significantly smaller than yours. Here's a great example of proud member of Montana Shares. Here's a few examples. This could be something as small as a postcard or as big as a billboard. Aware, and there's the Montana Shares logo. Here it is on a newsletter. Just gives you a feel. So all these are available in the orientation PDF that's on the members' website. This document is updated every year. It'll give us all of our current workplace partners. So if you're doing access, this will be the first place to look to see if we currently have something going at this organization. If nothing's listed here, then contact us and say that you want to approach someone, and we'll coordinate those efforts and try to get into more places. The raffle's a big deal. It is a major fundraiser for our core budget here at Montana Shares. Part of being a member is you're required to turn in a prize that's valued at $100 or more. It's due in March. If you do not turn this in, then we just take it out of your next distribution check. So in a way, it's not a requirement, but it is. It's really easy to get these prizes. You basically just go out and talk to people that support your organization already. Ask a bed and breakfast, ask a restaurant, a hotel, an artist for a prize. Most everyone will donate something. It's not that hard to do. Then the second part of this is, so we get the prizes, we put together the raffle worksheet, we kick it off somewhere in early May whenever we have the May membership meeting. Throughout the summer, tickets are quote-unquote sold. What we actually do is collect donations for them, which is to say that if someone wants to turn in tickets and not give you anything, that's just fine because it's a donation. But you are required to collect donations equal to $450. And again, if you come up short, it's no big deal because it just comes out of your next distribution check. But the great way to turn out good results in the raffle is to put it in any of your newsletters, your electronic newsletters, put it on your website, various things like that. The only thing that you cannot do is you can't sell these as PayPal transactions. PayPal will shut down your PayPal if you try to do raffle stuff because it's considered gambling. And lastly, on the fall meeting, sometime in September, whether it's this particular year, it was on the 6th, this year I think it's on the 12th, we draw all the winners in that September date on the fall meeting. This is kind of an example what the raffle sheet looks like. We'll shrink this one down a little bit. Once more. Oh, this brings to mind an important thing is you need to, down here it says credit donation to. You can either request a PDF from Christy where she'll put your acronym in this area, or you need to run these through a printer and have your acronym put in here, or something that distinguishes your group so that when these tickets come in, your organization gets credit for those ticket donations. So just make sure one way or another that your group acronym is somewhere there at the bottom on all three of those tickets. Suggested donation, $10 per ticket, or 3 for $25. If you've got someone who wants to give you $100, you can wheel and deal and give them more tickets if you'd like.